Hey, how's it poppin'? I'm here to yell at you about some plastic crap again. In addition to Nintendo juggernauts like Mario and Zelda, I'm also a big fan of the Xeno franchise, spearheaded by Monolith Soft, a developer who's been a Nintendo subsidiary since the mid-2000s. Under the stewardship of Nintendo, Monolith Soft has released 4 Xenoblade Chronicles games, while offering key development support on numerous modern Nintendo classics. For example, do you like the vast open worlds, geography that entices exploration, and incredible draw distances of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? Thank Monolith Soft for that. Despite this success and the fantastic quality of each entry, Xenoblade Chronicles has remained a niche series. It's a shame because all the Xenoblade games are amazing, and their amiibo are pretty good too. If you're wondering why a video on only 5 figures took this long to come out, I was waiting to see if the Switch port of Xenoblade Chronicles X would have amiibo functionality. Sadly, it doesn't, at least at the moment. Also, after it came out, I may have spent too much time playing it instead of working on this video. Since X doesn't have any amiibo representation or functionality, we aren't going to address it further. Instead, we'll focus on the main trilogy and its amiibo. Let's get started. First up is Shulk, the protagonist of the original Xenoblade Chronicles. He received an amiibo due to his inclusion as a fighter in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS in 2014. As a longtime Xeno fan, it's a move that still kinda shocks and excites me to this day. Shulk's amiibo launched as part of the 3rd wave of the Super Smash Bros. Series on February 1st, 2015. Like all figures in the line, scanning Shulk in any recent Smash game allows the players to unlock a custom CPU of him. This AI can be trained to battle using different strategies, potentially making every amiibo's fighting style unique. In April 2015, Nintendo, somewhat surprisingly, released a port of Xenoblade Chronicles exclusively on their new 3DS hardware. In the wake of a far more robust re-release on Switch, this version is overlooked today, but at the time, it was crazy impressive that Monolith and Monster Games got a project of this scope running on 3DS hardware. While making their way through the game, players can earn tokens to spend on a music player and a character model viewer. Scanning the Shulk amiibo gives players extra tokens to speed up this process. When Super Mario Maker for Wii U launched later in 2015, Shulk, alongside almost every other amiibo released up to that point, was compatible. Scanning the figure unlocks a special 8-bit Shulk costume for use in the game's NES-era art palette, complete with the Monado and Xenoblade sound effects. Scanning the figure in Yoshi's Woolly World unlocks a unique look for the little guy. Interestingly, mainline Xenoblade titles, such as 2015's Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Wii U, 2017's Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for the Switch, and the 2020 Switch remaster of the first game, launched without amiibo functionality. Even the token system from the 3DS remake of the original didn't make the cut. However, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is compatible with amiibo. Scanning the Shulk amiibo unlocks a weapon skin of the Monado, which is pretty fun. Unfortunately, the skin is only compatible with the starting sword fighter class, which, at least for me, became a fairly obsolete attacker class as I progressed through the game and finalized an endgame party build for super bosses. In my Zelda videos, I discussed Nintendo's growing pains when it came to amiibo based on characters with more realistic or anime-inspired designs. Nailing the intricacies of characters like that on small figures with a retail price between $13 and $16 is not an enviable task. Of course, now they go for $30 and $40, so what the f*** do I know? The Smash Bros. Ganondorf was the first Zelda figure adhering to this broad style to look good overall. However, I'd argue that Shulk, who predated Ganondorf's release by several months, was looking good before it was cool. The figure is based on his Smash art for 3DS and Wii U, which features Shulk in an action pose wielding the Monado. He looks like he's circling an enemy to pull off a backslash. The complicated patterns of his clothes and lumpy adventuring equipment match his in-game appearance. The use of a matte finish on his sweater and a shiny finish on his jacket to help differentiate the cloth types is pretty clever. Shulk's mysterious mystical sword, the Monado, is appropriately eye-catching. I love the inclusion of ether lines running up and down the blade. And notably, for such an early Amiibo release, the plastic isn't warped or bent. Lastly, Shulk's confident expression and wavy hair look great and continue to hold up well against more recent figures. Honestly, while it's definitely true that Amiibo have continued to look better and better over time, Shulk's still up there with the best of them. Alright, let's move on to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and the Aegis, Pyra and Mythra. Like I said earlier, 2 doesn't actually have Amiibo functionality. Pyra and Mythra received Amiibo because they were added to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's roster in 2021.
I got an invitation to join Smash!
The Amiibo function the same way every Smash Amiibo does, with the player being able to use them as a unique sparring partner. In Xenoblade Chronicles 3, their functionality mirrors Shulk's. Scanning them unlocks skins of their respective Aegis swords. But like the Monado, this effect is only applied to one class. I think that this class restriction for the swords is dumb. But the Amiibo that unlock the swords look pretty cool. Pyra and Mythra are based on their appearance in Ultimate, which actually tweaked their Xenoblade looks a bit to maintain Smash's lower age rating. Both characters gained tights, and Mythra's bare back and neckline were covered up. Interestingly, Mythra's changes date back to Ultimate's launch and her appearance as a spirit. For a bit of cross-promotion, Monolith Soft actually released an update for 2 that put her new outfit in the game. Like the Super Mario Odyssey wedding figures, Pyra and Mythra have back-to-back poses and are intended to be displayed together. To me, it looks like Pyra is preparing to attack, while Mythra looks like she's effortlessly evading. It may not be intentional, but I like that their poses somewhat reference their playstyles in Ultimate, with Pyra offering more power and Mythra offering agility. Pyra's design heavily incorporates the red synonymous with the series. Similar to Midna or Zelda's Breath of the Wild hair, different shades and plastic variations of the color are cleverly used to bring her design to life and differentiate components of her clothes and armor. The gold and emerald accents, like her splintered core crystal, the narrow ether lines running up her torso, and the gold trim on her cloak, complement her look while standing out against the deeper reds. Almost every Amiibo has some small paint bleed or blemish. It's pretty difficult to avoid on mass-produced small figures like this, so I haven't brought it up as a criticism in previous videos. Honestly though, the bleed on Pyra's torso is pretty bad and is worth a mention. The blemishes are pretty easy to spot due to the sharp contrast of her darker tights and armor against her pale skin. Then again, unless you are all but shoving a camera up the Amiibo's ass like I do for these videos, you probably aren't gonna notice this when she's on your shelf. Back to the positives, the texture of her cropped hair, especially in the back, looks really good. I love the near mechanical design of the Aegis sword wielded by her and Rex. Its appearance harkens back to the Monado without being derivative. Her swirling cloak tails also really stand out to me. Whenever I was reviewing footage of the Amiibo during editing, they caught my eye no matter the angle. Like Shulk, this is a great figurine. Let's switch over to the Golden Aegis. Mythra shares the many strengths of Pyra's Amiibo while lacking any notable paint bleed or blemishes. I think white being the primary color of her outfit makes the black, gold, and emerald accents pop even more. This is especially true of her Aegis sword, which I really like. When it comes to faces, Amiibo have come a long way, and the recent Zelda figures have set an especially high bar. Mythra's up to the challenge though, and her face conveys confidence in her fighting prowess. The tails of Mythra's outfit are placed more around her waist rather than her shoulders. As a result, they don't swirl around her like Pyra's do, but her long hair lends the same effect and looks good in its own right. Plus, the paintwork on the tails is still on point. That about wraps it up for Mythra. The Xenoblade series is 3 for 3 so far on Amiibo. Speaking of threes, let's move on to the dual leads of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Noah and Mio. This time around, Smash wasn't the reason Noah and Mio got Amiibo. The figures were announced in April 2023, closing in on a year after the game first launched. So far, the figure's only primary compatibility is with 3. Scanning Noah unlocks casual attire for him and his Kavesi allies. These outfits were already in the game, but couldn't be selected as costumes. They mainly appeared in camp cutscenes, where the cast were relaxing after a long day's journey, or waking up to a cup of coffee. It's a fun addition, but nothing mind-blowing. The real star of the show is a special outfit of N, a major villain in the game who shares a deep connection to Noah and Mio. To keep it short, think Anakin Skywalker, just with a more character-driven turn to the dark side. This costume is really cool, although you can't put Noah's hair down to match N's. It's stuck in a ponytail. Mio's Amiibo has similar functionality. She unlocks casual attire for herself and her 2 allies from Agnes. She also unlocks a special costume of M. Fortunately, for plot reasons, the player can already pick Mio's hair length, so the costume isn't hamstrung like N's. Since Noah and Mio are Xenoblade Chronicles Amiibo, and not Smash Amiibo of Xenoblade characters, they have a flashy new base of the Series X logo encircled by its signature red. Noah stands at the ready. He looks like he's about to draw Lucky 7 and unleash hell. Compared to Shulk and Rex, Noah has a more streamlined design. It's a change that makes sense for his character. He's a Kavesi soldier who has to rely on strategy and technology to keep pace with Agnes. He can't afford to be bogged down with excess armor and equipment. What little armor he does have, like his knee pads and power frame, look great on the figure. Although, I don't really get why his boots and jacket have such a shiny finish. I look at the art, then I look back at the Amiibo, and I don't see it. I like the glossy finish of the Link's Awakening Amiibo, even though it's not really game accurate. So the shiny finish on Noah isn't even necessarily a bad thing. I just kind of find it odd. If Tamatoa collected Amiibo, Noah would be on the top of his treasure hoard. Getting back on topic, his blade looks great. Like Pyra's Aegis sword, it brings to mind the Monado without feeling like a retread. His face and hair, I don't know, they're fine. His face has a tinge of classic Amiibo derpiness to it. It's leagues ahead of Nintendo's first figures, but Noah released after the phenomenal Tears of the Kingdom figures. He also cost $20. For that price, I was hoping for a better sculpt. It's still not bad though, and overall, I really like this Amiibo. Let's move on to his partner. Mio has a fairly streamlined look for a Xenoblade character. Like Noah, this is a good fit for her primary playstyle. She's an evasive tank who is meant to draw enemy attention, then dodge everything thrown her way rather than block. She just edges out Noah as the better figure in the 2-pack for me. Her pose is more kinetic, which helps the figure stand out and makes her outfit and equipment more interesting to look at. The fluid motion conveyed by her jacket and her hair are good examples of this. Another is how her moon blades play with perspective, with one in the foreground and one in the background. Unlike Noah's coat, it makes more sense for Mio's jacket to be reflective, and its hem and zipper teeth look really good for such a small figurine. The gold and black highlights pop against her simple design. Weapons on the Xenoblade figures have consistently looked good. Mio continues this trend as her moonblades burst with color and even include the small metal ridges on the interior circle. Mio's face outshines Noah's, and her confident expression is framed by a great hair sculpt. I love the red braid intertwined with her hair, alongside the red ties at her waist and on her boots. It adds one more eye-catching color to contrast the silver and white. This is an excellent amiibo that rounds out a great run for the Xenoblade series. Well, that was fun. Another 5 amiibo checked off the list. Xenoblade is one of my favorite series, so I'm glad I got a chance to yell about it. Thanks for tagging along on this one. I have several more video ideas I want to tackle, so keep an eye out.